How can I test myself if I don't compete with others?
Because what I taught you is not for competition. It's for self-defense, which is completely different.
How?
Mindset, for one thing. To fight professionally, you need a different attitude, techniques, training, sacrifice.
How long did you fight professionally?
Well, I was
He quietly carried the crossbow and crawled up the mountain peak. Looking at the assassins fiercely attacking his house, he did not hesitate to shoot an arrow. The assassin's companion, seeing that he could not destroy this solid house, carried a can of gasoline from the car. Just as he was about to set the house on fire, Bryant suddenly appeared behind him, holding the crossbow in his hand. The assassin, calm at first, thought Bryant had already been under the gun of his companion. Bryant, however, did not give the assassin any hope.
You're one of a kind now. He's gone.
The assassin, frustrated, suddenly hurled the gasoline can strongly toward Bryant. He wanted to find a glimmer of hope for survival. The kick was extremely strong and brutal, causing the assassin to immediately lose the ability to resist. Bryant wanted to know who exactly was trying to push him into death, but this assassin was extremely tight-lipped, refusing to say a single word, no matter what. Seeing that Bryant did not waste words and immediately poured the entire gasoline can onto the assassin. At first, he only intended to frighten him. Unexpectedly, in order not to reveal the identity of the one who hired him, the assassin went mad and set himself on fire. This scene was completely beyond Bryant's expectations. Although he had vaguely guessed who the mastermind was, he still wondered in his heart, how exactly did the enemy find him? Bryant had moved here 3 years ago. The woman in the photo was his wife, her fate still unknown. Every morning he practiced the full set of combat martial arts, keeping his body in the best condition. Over time, his martial arts attracted a boy who practiced with him almost every day without missing a session. Bryant was deeply moved by this persistence. He decided to teach him everything he knew about martial arts. Soon a year passed. Oscar's martial arts had reached a fairly good level. Bryant did not expect the boy to have such a natural talent. One day, while the two were sparring, the sound of roaring engines suddenly came from outside. Oscar went to check and saw only a car parked on the empty lot. The boy did not know the purpose of these people, but the next second, someone very familiar to him stepped out of the car. It was his older brother, Hector. The two brothers had not seen each other for many years. His brother had been imprisoned for manslaughter and had only recently been released. However, when he saw Bryant nearby, Hector's expression immediately changed. As a crime boss, he was too familiar with the appearance and aura of the man in front of him. The other party was definitely a cop. In his words, he did not hide his hostility toward Bryant. Although Oscar hurriedly explained that Bryant was his master, Hector still remained full of caution. To avoid conflict between the two sides, Oscar quickly pulled his brother away. To broaden Oscar's horizons, Hector took the boy to watch the first free fight of his life at an underground arena. But the match between the two men in the ring did not arouse any interest in Oscar. To him, it had no technique at all.
Is there any other challenger that want to fight the collector? If you last one round with the collector, you get 5,000. But if you beat him, you're gonna get 10,000 pesos.
Hearing that, Oscar stood up and quickly stepped onto the stage. Hector was so tense that he almost went mad. He did not understand what the hell his younger brother was doing. Even the host looked at him with disdain, thinking the boy had come to throw his life away. But after the match began, everyone's jaws dropped in shock. This was almost a completely overwhelming victory. Even Hector was completely stunned, not expecting his younger brother to have such skill. However, Oscar did not realize that the video of his fight had just been uploaded online. Soon, a lawyer who was playing golf watched this video. After seeing clearly what was in it, his face immediately turned pale. In extreme fear, he rushed to the prison to meet his client Kilbane. As soon as they met, he showed the video to Kilbane. Kilbane only watched a small part and immediately guessed that the boy was connected to that person. Because aside from that person, no one else used such moves. The place where the video was filmed was a location on the US-Mexico border.
Oh, you gotta find him. Completion guarantees a longer life.
After discovering that his younger brother had a natural talent for martial arts, Hector took the boy to the only boxing gym in town. He intended for his brother to continue training there. After all, he did not want his younger brother to have much contact with Bryant anymore. However, while they were filling out the information, two burly men pushed the door open and walked in. As soon as they saw him, they immediately recognized Oscar. Oscar did not know these people, but the bald man asked where the person who had taught the boy boxing was. Hector cautiously asked what they wanted. The bald man lied that he was a martial arts promotion ambassador. He wanted to ask if Oscar had a manager, but clearly just moments earlier, he had intended to ask about Bryant's whereabouts. Exposed by the gym owner, the bald man had no choice but to admit that he had indeed come looking for someone. Furious at such two-faced people, Hector directly told them to get out of the gym. The two men, knowing better, turned and left. Oscar wanted to go and inform Bryant, but his brother told him not to meddle in this matter. However, Oscar still insisted on going. After all, Bryant had taught him so much, and he could not just stand by and do nothing. Seeing that he could not dissuade his younger brother, Hector had no choice but to agree to drive him. Not long after they appeared before Bryant, the girl acted as the messenger, telling Bryant that there was something important to report. With Bryant's permission, Oscar stepped forward and clearly recounted everything that had happened at the boxing gym. After hearing this, Bryant's expression immediately grew tense. He quickly told Oscar and the girl to go inside the house. He then shouted toward the car, calling Hector and his men inside as well. At first, Hector was unwilling, but when Bryant said that the situation was about to become very bad, he finally decided to enter the house. But just as he stepped out of the car, a hail of bullets suddenly rained down on him. The two risked their lives under the hail of bullets, throwing all their strength into rushing into the room, almost losing their lives on the spot. Hearing the bullets hitting the house, Bryant told them not to panic.
Don't worry, the whole place is steel plated.
Oh, so you were expecting company, huh? Pinchy cop. What the fuck are you up to, huh?
Bryant coldly admitted that he had once been a police officer with the Los Angeles Police Department and the Drug Enforcement Administration. Back then, he had destroyed a massive criminal organization and had been hunted for years, but he could not understand how he had been exposed. At that moment, the girl suddenly remembered the video of Oscar's fight on the internet. She felt that the enemy might have come because of that video. Oscar also realized that perhaps he had accidentally revealed Bryant's location. However, knowing this now was useless. They had to quickly deal with the problem in front of them. So Bryant sneaked out through the secret tunnel behind the enemy, took down one assassin, and then took down the other. Bryant asked who had sent them. Seeing that the enemy remained tight-lipped, Bryant poured a whole can of gasoline over him, intending at first to force him to submit. But unexpectedly, the man set the gasoline on fire himself. This scene truly startled Bryant. He knew that other assassins would quickly arrive. They had to leave here as soon as possible. So Bryant opened the entrance to the secret tunnel under the bed. Everyone, one by one, crawled into the tunnel, following the narrow passage forward. On the way, Hector could not contain his curiosity and asked Bryant who exactly wanted him dead. Bryant replied that it was a man named Sonny Kilbane, a former police captain. He further explained that Kilbane trafficked drugs, weapons, and humans. He controlled both judges and the Drug Enforcement Administration. At present, Kilbane was in prison serving a life sentence. Because Kilbane wanted to vent his anger, he sent people to hunt down Bryant. Unexpectedly, the assassins returned empty-handed. Kilbane then poured all his rage onto Bryant's wife, beating her nearly to death. Fortunately, Bryant arrived just in time. The assassins were overjoyed at the sight, hoping to finish off Bryant as well. But how could they be a match for Bryant? In just a few moves, he had beaten them all down, each one falling to the ground. To protect his wife, Bryant came up with a plan. He told her to say to the police that he had beaten her deliberately, staging a fake domestic violence case, and then fleeing out of fear of punishment. That way, he could use the opportunity to escape. As for the bodies of the assassins he had defeated, Bryant handled them extremely cleanly, leaving no connection to his wife at all. It must be said that his plan was very successful. Bryant had been hiding here for 3 years, only recently having his whereabouts accidentally exposed. While they were talking, the group approached the exit. Bryant told them to go a little farther, and they would be able to get out, while he had to stay behind to clean up the assassin's body. They signaled to each other, and then went their separate ways. Just as Bryant predicted that evening, a fully armed police unit completely surrounded his house. Bryant calmly sat in front of the surveillance screen, amused as he watched the enemy perform. As soon as they arrived, they aggressively began storming the door. Seeing that the defenses were about to be broken, Bryant decisively picked up his gun, quietly approached the door, and gently unlocked the bolt. The enemy intended to continue their fierce assault, but at that moment, the lights suddenly went out. Bryant stuck his head out from the roof. After a series of precise shots, several men screamed and fell to the ground. The solid house remained unbroken, its defenses impenetrable to the police. So the group threw a few smoke bombs, intending to smoke Bryant out of the room. However, just as they hid inside the car, Bryant appeared in front of them with a gun in his hand. Several people inside the car were so frightened that they did not dare to move.
Fuck are you waiting for? Get out of here.
Knowing that Bryant would spare them, a few of them, as if granted amnesty, hurriedly fled the scene, as if escaping. Even the police could do nothing to Bryant. This made Kilbane extremely furious. He had spent a large sum of money to bribe Warder, a senior officer in the local police department. Yet everything had still failed miserably. He immediately told the lawyer to go back and find Warder, insisting that Bryant must be dealt with. Otherwise, once Bryant recovered, no one would have a good day. The lawyer, of course, also understood the dangers clearly in his heart, so he could only obediently comply. This time, they targeted Hector. Taking advantage of the moment when Hector was off guard, they quickly defeated his men and successfully took control of the situation. They had already investigated and discovered that Hector once had a connection with Bryant. They guessed that the relationship between the two was not ordinary, so they planned to control Hector first, and then force him to reveal Bryant's whereabouts. However, they underestimated Hector's spirit. People who had long lived in the underworld had always placed loyalty above all else. Hector would rather die than utter a single word about Bryant's location. Seeing his stubbornness, the corrupt police officers took him to a deserted remote place. They intended to do it for real and see how tough his bones were. But suddenly, a cold voice rang out.
Nobody move. Nobody gets shot in the fucking head.
The corrupt police officers were confident that with Hector as their trump card, Bryant would obediently surrender. But they did not know that the two of them had no real bond at all. In an instant, a bullet pierced precisely through the head of the corrupt officer. Seeing this, the remaining henchmen rushed forward like wolves. Bryant had no interest in wasting time with them, so he immediately ran, leading 5 assassins straight up the mountain. The assassins never expected this to be Bryant's plan to wear them down. Not long after, several of them were panting heavily. At that moment, Bryant suddenly stopped, and with just a few moves, he knocked them all to the ground. After that, Bryant returned to free Hector from his bindings. He even gave back the golden gun that had been taken from him by the corrupt officer. Then, the two of them drove off in a 1968 Chevrolet Camaro, speeding away like lightning. At the same time, Oscar had arrived at Bryant's place. The boy was worried about Bryant's safety. He wanted to confirm whether Bryant was safe or not, but no matter how much he knocked, there was no response from inside the house. This situation made the two children even more anxious. Oscar told the girl to wait there while he went to the training gym to see if he could find Bryant. But just as he turned around, the boy was suddenly attacked. Luckily, Oscar reacted quickly enough to immediately switch to offense. The strikes were decisive and sharp. He already carried the aura of a master like Bryant. Just as he knocked the attackers to the ground, he was hit by a powerful kick. From the stance of the strike, it seemed to have some connection to Bryant. Oscar did not hesitate and decisively launched an attack. This man was no match for Oscar. A series of consecutive blows directly knocked off the opponent's helmet. Afraid that Oscar would continue attacking the man, hurriedly raised his hand to signal him to stop. He said that he was a friend of Bryant. After speaking, he even showed his identification papers to the boy. Seeing this, Oscar's vigilance immediately eased somewhat. Han continued saying that Bryant had once been his captain and also his master. The martial arts moves he was using now had all been personally taught to him by Bryant. When Oscar had completely lowered his guard, Han finally revealed the truth. He said that Bryant had told him to come and pick up the two of them, only because there were too many people hunting Bryant. He could not show himself, and worried that Oscar might get into trouble. He secretly contacted Han and told him to come protect their safety. After hearing this, Oscar had no doubts. The man's skills, along with knowing Bryant's nickname, made the boy firmly believe that Han in front of him was one of their own. So the boy unsuspectingly got into Han's car. However, after a long drive, the view outside the window was still a desolate area. At this moment, Oscar finally realized something was wrong. And Han also tore off his disguise, revealing his true face. It turned out that everything he had said earlier was completely fabricated. Oscar knew he had to find a way to save himself, so the boy secretly called his brother Hector. Oscar whispered over the phone that Han from the Drug Enforcement Administration was taking them north. Hector pressed asking who Han was and where he was taking him. Unexpectedly, Bryant's voice came through, telling Oscar not to mention his name and not to trust Han. Wherever he took him, he should run away immediately. But Oscar said in despair that it was already too late and that he was already in Han's car. At that moment, Han discovered that Oscar was on the phone. He snatched the phone away and threw it out the window. He also ordered his men to blindfold the two children to prevent them from playing tricks. Knowing that the children were in danger, Hector immediately gathered all his men. He ordered them to search everywhere, to find his younger brother and the girl. On the way, Oscar suddenly came up with an idea to pretend he was carsick. Using the excuse of needing to get out to vomit, the boy stepped out of the car. Taking advantage of the moment when they were not paying attention, he secretly noted down a distinctive house number on the large gate nearby. Not long after, they were brought to a mansion in the suburbs. In the main hall of the mansion, the lawyer was discussing strategies with Warder on how to deal with Bryant. But in fact, Warder had long since not wanted to be involved in this matter anymore. To take down Bryant, he had already lost 15 men. But unexpectedly, after hearing this, the lawyer began to threaten him. He said that back then, it was Kilbane who had helped Warder rise to a senior position in the police department. If he refused to help, he could also be kicked out of the game. Moreover, Kilbane had also given him a large sum of money. Hearing these words, Warder immediately flew into a rage. He felt that he had already done too many shady things for Kilbane. Now, he no longer owed any favors. Seeing his attitude, the lawyer was also frightened. At this moment, Han suggested that they could use Oscar to lure Bryant. He guessed that Hector was still with Bryant and told Oscar to call his brother. Oscar said, "My brother doesn't answer strange numbers. You have to send a message first to prove your identity." So the boy sent the house number he had just written down to Hector. Hector looked at the confusing message. At that moment, the phone rang. Bryant told him not to answer and quickly enter the number into the software. Seeing that no one picked up the call, Warder grew impatient and ordered his men to lock the two children up. But he did not know that at that very moment, Hector had already arrived with a large group of men, aggressively storming in. Everyone drew their weapons from behind their backs and immediately engaged in a firefight with Warder's subordinates. The intense gunfire instantly alerted those inside the house. They quickly hid in the nearby armory. Oscar and the girl were also locked inside. At first, the lawyer suggested that Warder kill the two children. In his view, they no longer had any value. But Warder instead felt that at this moment, the two children were even more important. The lawyer was now the real burden. So, without hesitation, he shot the lawyer dead on the spot. Bryant and Hector arrived at the side entrance of the mansion and began shooting at the lawyer's henchmen. Hector lamented that after being in prison for so long, his skills had become stiff. As soon as they appeared on the open ground, Bryant was suddenly ambushed. Fortunately, he reacted quickly, rolling aside to dodge the attack, while taking down the gunman without a single wasted movement. Inside the room, Bryant told Hector to guard the window, while he went to settle accounts with the others. As soon as he stepped out of the room, he ran into a gunman. Bryant quickly rushed toward the nearby yard to find cover. Waiting until the enemy approached, he decisively fired through the wall and took one down. The remaining one, panicking, fired wildly a few times, but in the end, Bryant circled around from the side and took him down. At this moment, the guards outside had already been eliminated by Hector's men. They stormed into the mansion en masse. Sensing that something was wrong, Warder intended to escape immediately, but unexpectedly, Bryant rushed out from one side. With the support of his men, Warder managed to retreat into the house. Bryant instantly fired and took down one of them. Another one who was hiding behind a pillar was shot in the leg by Bryant and caught off guard. He too was taken down. As for Oscar to escape, he took advantage of the moment when the guard was not paying attention. He rushed forward with a kick, and then tightened his grip around the man's neck. After only a few breaths, the guard passed out from suffocation. At that moment, there was more noise outside. Oscar quickly hid behind the door. This time, the one who came was Han. While Oscar and Han struggled, the girl noticed the gun of the fallen guard on the ground. Just as Han, unable to resist, was about to grab the gun and counterattack, the girl acted first. 2 shots hit Han in the legs instantly, rendering him unable to fight. Bryant, passing by, heard the groans and came to check. He saw Oscar and the girl helping Han treat his wound. Bryant asked the 2 children if they were okay. Oscar replied that they were a little scared, but fine. Bryant turned to ask Han if he was okay. Irritated, Han told him to leave him alone and challenged Bryant, saying that he knew Bryant wanted to kill him, so why didn't he just do it? Bryant led Oscar and the girl, intending to withdraw from the mansion, but unexpectedly, Warder suddenly appeared, firing his gun wildly. Bryant reacted with extreme speed, quickly taking the 2 children to find cover. Seeing this, Warder was very pleased, thinking he had the upper hand, but he had no idea that Hector had silently appeared behind him.
Hey, Valdez! Have you seen Scarface?
At that moment, all the troubles they had faced were resolved. Bryant's former colleagues arrived just in time and quickly secured the scene. Bryant finally reunited with his wife after 3 years of separation. From that moment on, they no longer had to live apart. In the end, Bryant returned to the police department. He and the 2 former subordinates who had been harmed disguised themselves as guards and brought Kilbane into a room. In front of Kilbane, they removed their masks. Kilbane was instantly terrified, and his final fate was already clear. Today's story ends here. Thank you for watching. What do you think about this movie? Please leave a comment below.